Thank you. It's totally my pleasure to be here. I don't know what your day felt like. Someone earlier up here was talking about having like some time this afternoon to think and pray and meditate. I left my house at 6:30 and drove through the rain to get here, and I stopped at 2 gas stations, and I stopped at Zondervan, then I had lunch at Gaia, then I got my hair done, then I went to hold, my sister-in-law Amy just had a beautiful little baby girl, so I went to snuggle her for as long as I could, and then I changed in her bathroom and put on my makeup in the car on 28th Street, and here we are, so, and I promise that if any of you have small children, my day was a lot easier than yours because I didn't have a 2-year-old with me the whole time. So I showed up actually at Gaia to meet Joe Hayes, who works here, and his wife Emily. And Joe was like, "Oh, I thought maybe Henry was coming." And I was like, "Really?" And then, no. Did you want me to bring him here in the car? No. He is a wonderful Joe and Henry are both wonderful people. Henry is less wonderful in the car. It's not his best place. And he does sometimes like to be referred to as Spider-Man. Like we were at the grocery store the other day, and he was, I don't know if you're supposed to bargain with your kids, so if you're not supposed to, just pretend I don't do it. But I was just kind of on the edge, and we were having a dinner party, which I love, but I had mistimed things horribly, so we were in a hurry at the grocery store, and he really wanted to go in one of those carts where there's like a car on the front, which is so cool, except it means the cart is literally like 8 feet long, and you can't turn. So he's in there, and he's just yelling and yelling, yelling, and I finally get like right down in the windshield, and I'm like, "Listen to me. You need to take it down a notch or no toy. Henry, I need you to lower your voice." And he says, no, not Henry, me, Spider-Man. And I'm like, yeah, I don't care who is in this car. Oh, anyway, I don't know how we got there. One of the reasons that I'm very glad to be here is I have a very deep affection for this community. I lived in Grand Rapids for 6 years and worked at Mars Hill, and through the course of my time there, met Jeff Mannion and then his wife and his kids. And I had this experience the first time I think I had met Jeff before. I hadn't yet met Chris, and they very kindly invited us over for dinner, and it was at this really difficult time in my life. And so I was the dinner guest who, like, after dinner started hysterically crying in their den. I mean, like, totally lost it. And they were wonderful and so kind and loving and encouraging and gracious. But then we got home, and the next day I was trying to write like a thank you note, like, "Thank you for having us. I'm sorry I had a mental breakdown. Perhaps next time you can come to our house and we'll grill out." Like, I just, but if you've ever, it was one of those situations where what was happening in my life was so deeply raw that I couldn't hold it together. I mean, there's like not even an option. And Chris and Jeff were so, when they talk about being with someone and they have the very fragrance and aroma of Christ, we experience that in our time with them. And so I feel like you all are deeply blessed to get to be a part of a community that they're a part of. I also always, I'm a pastor's kid, so I always have my eye on other pastors' kids, like, "You seem normal. How did that happen?" You know? And I have to tell you, I love their kids. I absolutely love them. I think they are just funny, interesting, intelligent, young people, and now I sound like my grandma. What a fine young person. And then I mentioned Joe and Emily Hayes are very dear friends of ours, and so again, I think you guys are really blessed to have them as a part of your community. I spent 6 years here here in Grand Rapids, and then moved back to Chicago like 6 weeks ago. So I still can't find like 50% of my stuff. I packed it somewhere, but I will always have a deep gratitude for the things that I learned, and mostly for the people that we walked with during our time in Grand Rapids. So my parents are from Kalamazoo, And I remember my dad telling me, when you move to West Michigan, you will find that they are finer people per capita than anywhere else in the world. And I thought he was just saying that because he was from there. But I think it's true. There is a goodness and a generosity and an honesty, a deep commitment to rightness, to causes that matter, that's more prevalent here in West Michigan than it is in other places. And so I am so thankful to have been here. Your Italian food is not as good, is the other trade-off. Better people, good people, but better Italian food in Chicago. So you win some, you lose some. So tonight I want to talk with you about change. And the reason I want to talk with you about it is because it's the thing that I'm learning about more and more and more. When I set out to write Cold Tangerines, someone very wisely told me, think about the one thing you believe most in the world, and the one thing that if you ever got to say it to the world through a book and through your life, this is that one thing. I think that person thought, like I did, clearly anybody who's crazy enough to publish a book of yours is only going to do it one time, so this is your shot. And so I spent a lot of time really thinking about what is that one thing. And at that time in my life, and still now, the thing I believe more than anything else is that life is extraordinary, and specifically life with God is extraordinary. The gift that it is to walk on this planet, to interact with other people that God made, to live in the midst of his creation, to be a part of the things he's doing in the everyday of our lives is as absolutely good as it gets. And so for me, the idea of waiting around till things are perfect, or waiting till somehow we're all like rich and skinny and not scared to go to parties, I don't think it's going to happen. I'm really committed to this day, whatever it holds. And so then right with that, I spent a couple years exploring those ideas, talking about them, writing about them, learning about them. And then I encountered the most intense season of change I have yet known. And all of a sudden, it's everywhere I look. Everyone I talk to, every story I hear is about what it means to live through change. And not just to get through it, but to get through it well, with some sort of grace, with some sort of bigger, more beautiful perspective. And so that's what we're going to talk about tonight. I'm going to read for you a couple new essays, and then also one from Cold Tangerines, and then just leave you with a couple thoughts. So this first one is called Sea Change. This last season in my life has been characterized more than anything else by change. Hard, swirling, one after another changes, so many that I can't quite regain my footing before the next one comes, like being tumbled by waves. I learned about waves when I was little, swimming in Lake Michigan, in the navy blue water under a clear sky. The most important thing I learned was this: if you try to stand and face the wave, it will smash you to bits. But if you trust the water and let it carry you, there's nothing sweeter. A couple decades later, that's what I'm learning to be true about life too. If you dig in and fight the change, it will indeed smash you to bits. It will hold you under, drag you across the rough sand, scare and confuse you. But if you can find it within yourself just for a moment to trust in the goodness of God who made it all and holds it all together, you'll find yourself drawn along to a whole new place. And there's truly nothing sweeter. It began 3 years ago in January in Grand Rapids. I got pregnant, left a job I loved, had a baby, wrote a book. A year after I left my job, my husband left his. The next morning, we moved down to South Haven for a few months, catching our breath, trying to figure out which end was up. And then we traveled together and separately almost every week for a year and a half, looking for a new home and trying to pay the bills. My brother left on a 2-year sailing trip around the world the day after Henry's first birthday and took Aaron's best friend, Joe, who you know, with him. My best friend, Annette, moved back to California. I got pregnant again. Our kitchen and basement flooded. We moved from our house down to the lake again. I lost the baby. We moved back to the house, sold most of our furniture and our TV in a moving sale that was several months earlier than the actual move, put our house up for sale, which meant lots and lots of showings and devastatingly no offers. And then finally in January, 3 years to the day of that first book proposal, my husband and I and our son moved to a little house on the same street I lived on when I was 3.